It's been steady all day, a cold, blustery winter afternoon. Main Street is covered in deep drifts of powdery snow. I reach over and turn off the radio, still echoing the forecast. The snow is picking up, and a full-blown storm is on the way. Everyone's being told to stay put for the night. I don't mind. I'm already home, and the shop is as cozy as ever, with the tea kettle waiting. My rooms are upstairs, and above them, the attic holds my grandmother's treasures. I inherited this old house when she passed, and turned it into a bookshop that I also call home. The house is a rambling old Victorian, all tall windows and carved woodwork, with a porch that wraps around the front. Inside, the staircases turn and twist, and every room seems to hold its own quiet story. The last customer has gone. The floorboards creak softly as I move through the quiet shop. The air holds the scent of old paper and wood, with a hint of something floral in the corners. I notice the fire in the fireplace has burned low. I kneel and add a few pieces of kindling, arranging them quietly. I strike a match and light the wood. The flame catches, and soon the room begins to warm again. After a moment of watching the flames dance, I turn to my staircase and head upstairs to change out of my work clothes. I open my bedroom door, noticing the pretty dress draped over a chair. Smiling to myself, I slip off my soft cardigan, yellow cashmere, and one of my favorites, and fold it neatly. The turtleneck, a pretty, soft sea green, and my dark rinsed jeans follow. I take my grandmother's party dress, a vintage lavender cotton gown that looks like something out of the 19th century, with a high lace collar, long sleeves gathered at the wrists, and a row of pearl buttons down the bodice. Arms slide through the sleeves, each button fastened in turn. The collar closes at my neck, and the sash is tied at my waist. I sit and pull on my shoes, dark burgundy leather boots with narrow toes, low stacked heels, and a line of small buttons along the side. My grandmother always told me to wear this dress and these boots when I read the book. Seems silly, but it's a sweet, bookish tradition that she shared with my mother and both shared with me. It's a tradition I've kept for as long as I can remember. Put on the pretty dress and boots, brew a cup of tea, and settle in for a cozy night in. The story is about a tea party where everyone is dressed in their best. Actually, very much like... Maybe she wanted me to have an immersive reading experience, to feel like I belonged in the pages of the book too. Once I'm dressed, I spritz on a hint of lilac, then gather up my skirts and climb one more flight of stairs. This time to the attic. The door is old, just like the house, all wood and brass. A large vintage key hangs on a hook on the wall beside the door, and I remove it from its place and open the door. The air inside is cooler, cold actually, and I wrap my arms around me as I move around the hat boxes, trunks, and other storage containers. The sound of the cold, blustery wind is even more pronounced up here, causing the windows to tremble. The inviting scent of old things combines with the fragrance of cedar following me as I step across the attic floor and find the trunk beneath the eaves. I lift the lid, move aside a shawl and a stack of letters, and take out the book, wrapped in soft velvet. 4 crystals are set into the cover. Amethyst, for ease in crossing from one place to another. Moonstone, said to guide and protect travelers. Clear quartz, bringing focus and intention. And labradorite, always shifting, always hinting at hidden doors. Years ago, my grandmother brought the book to the jeweler in town, wanting to know if the stones were real. He confirmed what she'd always believed. I've often wondered who wrote it, how it came to be in our family, and why no one seems to know its true origin. There's no author's name, just curling botanical patterns pressed into the leather. Inside, the book is filled with beautiful illustrations, delicate watercolors of animals and people together at tea beneath flowering trees, and lantern-lit windows. The village of Snowdrop Glen is full of neighbors: foxes, rabbits, children, shopkeepers, old friends, and new ones. The pictures are so vivid, they almost seem to shimmer on the page. The story itself reads like a children's tale, but there's something about it that feels older and deeper. I've thought about reading it at story time for the children in the shop, but I always hesitate, unsure what might happen if I share it aloud. Book in hand, I return to the back room. I fill the kettle and set it to boil. The lid settles onto the kettle with a quiet click. I measure dried lavender buds into my teapot. When the water is ready, I pour it over the lavender and watch the steam curl and drift. I stir the tea, the spoon clinking gently against the cup. Taking my cup and the book, I settle into my reading chair by the fireplace. The chair creaks as I sit. I pull a blanket over my lap, the fabric making a soft sound as I unfold it. I open to the stories from the village of Snowdrop Glen, tales of friends gathering, sharing tea, and small adventures. The fire crackles softly nearby. Mrs. Finch always reminds me not to be late. Her berry scones never stay warm for long, and the last batch tasted of wild blackberry and peach preserves, flavors she insists are a family secret. She only smiles when I ask for the recipe, her whiskers twitching as if she might share it one day, but not today. I lift my teacup and take a careful sip. Did I mention Mrs. Finch is a rabbit? She is elegant and articulate, always perfectly dressed, and her manners put everyone else to shame. Still, she's a rabbit, and one of my dearest friends. I rest my cup on the table and reach for the book. Each time I read these stories, they feel new, as if they're waiting just for me. The pages are thick and edged in gold, the print delicate and winding across the paper. No one remembers where the book first came from, only that it has always been part of our family. I begin to read, letting my eyes move slowly over the words. As I read, the room around me begins to shift. Colors soften, edges blur, and I feel myself growing lighter, as though I'm floating just above my chair. I know my tea will be cold when I return, but for now, the story carries me away to a very magical place.